Hello, students. So today we are talking about rational and irrational numbers and how to estimate them. Your learning target is I can estimate rational and irrational numbers. Please note that for this video you will need to watch two videos. You have this video from me, and then we have a Khan Academy video that you'll be watching after I kind of go review some of the information that we talked about in class last week. So if you remember, a rational number is any number that what? See if you can think of it in your head. All right, so if you said it's any number that can be written as a fraction, you are correct. And then an irrational number, if you can guess it, go ahead. Any number that cannot be expressed in fraction form. And the last definition that you'll need to know is a perfect square is any rational number multiplied by itself. Actually, it's the product of any rational number multiplied by itself. And just like I told you, you are more than welcome to always write out a number line just like we created in class. So the first perfect square is 1 times 1. The next perfect square is 2 times 2, which is 4. The next perfect square is 3 times 3, which is 9. The next perfect square is 16, and so on and so forth. Go ahead and fill in the rest and pause the video now if you can think of the next perfect squares, but only do it till about 10. All right, so I finished my perfect square number line. It goes 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, and 100. So in class, I talked about in-betweenies, and that's just my word that I've made up for finding where a square root that's not a perfect square falls on this number line. For example, if I have the square root of 12, I know that it's going to be somewhere in here, and I know that 12 is bigger than 1, 12 is bigger than 4, 12 is bigger than 9, 12 is smaller than 16, so the square root of 12 on the number line would go right here between 12 and the square root of 16, just like that. All right, even though 12 is not a perfect square, it's going to be somewhere between 9 and 16. That's where I get the word in-betweeny. Okay, so do you remember how we wrote that? We wrote it as the square root of 9 is less than the square root of 12, which is less than the square root of 16. Square root of 16. Okay, and then from there we can simplify that because we know what the square root of 9 is. We know that that's 3. And then we keep our signs the same. And we don't know what the square root of 12 is, so we just leave that in square root form. And then we know what the square root of 16 is. We know that that's 4. So we know that the square root of 12 is somewhere between 3 and 4. So this lesson is asking you if you can determine if the square root of 12, if you can determine a closer number than 3, between 3 and 4, because between 3 and 4, you can have infinite amounts of numbers between 3 and 4. You can have 3.1, 3.12, 3.123, and it keeps going on and on for infinity. So the square root of 12, even though we got it down between 3 and 4, we want to kind of make it even a little bit more precise. So how do we do that? Well, our first step, I will write over here, is to determine which square root is closer to the unknown square root. Let me tell you what I mean by that. So that's referring to back up here, you've got two square roots, and this is the unknown square root. The square root of 12 is the unknown square root. So it's asking you, is 12 closer to 9 or is 12 closer to 16? Well, we know if we do 12 take away 9, we know that that's 3. And then if we do 16 take away 12, we know that that's 4. So 12 is closer to 9 than it is to 16. And that's why this is between or close. It's only 3 spaces away from 9 and it's 4 spaces away from 16. So we know that the square root of 12 is closer to the square root of 9 than it is to 16. Well, we already know the square root of 9 is 3 and the square root of 16 is 4. So if we keep all of this the same, we know the square root of 12 is closer to 3 than it is to 4. Okay, so that's our step 1. Determine which square root is closer to the unknown square root. And for this problem, we determined that it's 3. All right, so then I've written down our second step. So our second step is to begin guess and check with the tenths place decimals. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Don't worry, it's not as confusing as it sounds. It just requires a little bit of math. So we determined that the square root of 12 is closer to 3 than it is to 4. So the first thing we're going to do is do 3.1 times 3.1 and see what that gets us. We're looking for some number that's going to be close to 12. So go ahead and solve 3.1 times 3.1 on your paper and see what you get. All right, hopefully you solved that on your paper. If you did, you would have gotten 9.61. So 3.1 squared is 9.61, or another way to say it is the square root of 9.61 is 3.1. But 9.61 is still pretty far off from 12, so let's try the next one. The next highest tenths place is not 3.1, it's 3.2. So we'll do 3.2 times 3.2 to see what we get. Go ahead and do that now. When you get it, go ahead and enter it right here. You should get 10.24. All right, so we're moving up. We're closer to the square root of 12, but we're not quite there. So then the next thing we do is just try 3.3 times 3.3. And this is the work that I'll be looking for on your homework to make sure that you are actually trying to do or trying to find the closest tenths place estimate. So if you do 3.3 times 3.3 on your paper, you will get 10.89. And we're still getting closer to 12, but we're not quite there yet. So the next one is we've done 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. So the next one is 3.4 times 3.4. See what you get. You will get 11.56. All right, so this is actually very close to 12. Would you agree? 11.56. If you were going to round that, you would even round it to 12. So this is really close. Let's see if we can do 3.5 and still be under 12. 3.5 times 3.5 equals, go ahead and try that now. And I just finished and I got 12.25. So 12.25 is higher than 12. So we know that 3.4 is the closest estimate that we can get to the square root of 12. So if you were, if this was a problem on your test or on your quiz, you would say that the square root of 12, the square root of 12 is approximately, this wavy equal sign means about or approximately 3.4. Okay, and that would be a suitable answer for this type of problem. All right, so now I'm going to ask you to watch a video on Khan Academy. And the video is a man explaining the square root of a larger number, and he's asking you to find the hundredths place or round it to the hundredths place, whereas we rounded it to the tenths place. And it's a really good video. He jumps right in and he doesn't explain any of this stuff. So go ahead and watch that. And when you're finished, you'll need to come back here to watch the last section of my video to get the quiz, or you can view the quiz now and just pause the video until you're ready to take the quiz. In case you need it, I'll put the Khan Academy video link here, but you won't be able to click on it. You'll just have to type it into your browser. Okay, so here is the tiny URL. Watch this video. It is, you have to enter the http://tinyurl.com/m3d7fz as in zebra 4. All right, so go ahead and watch that video now and then come back here to take the quiz. All right, so after watching that Khan Academy video, please take this quiz. You have 5 problems. You will be graded on this in class tomorrow. And just to help you out, I've included the perfect squares at the bottom of the page for you. So that should help you with this quiz just a little bit. Please be sure to show your work on your paper and put your name on it and write quiz. Actually, let's go ahead and label this quiz approximating irrational square roots. Okay, so if you could go ahead and put this label on the top of your quiz, that would be awesome, so that way we can keep all these straight. And then you'll need to put this quiz, 3-hole punch it, and put it in the quiz section of your notebook. I know this is a difficult concept, so please don't worry. We will be working on this in class as a group, and I'm sure you'll get it once with a little bit of practice. So good luck. Please email me if you have any questions on the quiz or accessing the Khan Academy video, and I will see you in class very soon.